He didn't mean to stare. Honestly, he didn't. But when Mark stepped outside to take out the trash that chilly Tuesday morning, and saw his new neighbor, Emily, stretching on her porch in the soft sunrise light, he froze, not because of what she looked like, but because it had been years since anything or anyone made him pause long enough to feel something. He tried to look away fast, embarrassed, but before he could, she turned her head, smiled gently, and said the last thing he ever expected, "If you want to look, just ask." At that moment, Mark's breath caught in his throat. A single dad who barely had time for sleep, let alone moments like this, wasn't used to attention. And certainly not used to someone saying something so bold, yet so kind, so casual, so human. He wasn't offended, he was stunned. Because those words, spoken with lightness and kindness, were the beginning of a story he never saw coming. Before we get deeper into the story, take a moment to subscribe, comment, and like this video. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. And welcome to Kindness World, where everyday moments remind us that kindness still exists. Mark hadn't always been closed off, but life has a way of teaching people to build walls. 3 years earlier, he had lost his wife to a sudden illness, leaving him alone with their son, 8-year-old Liam. Since then, Mark's world had become small, home, work, home again. He moved to this new neighborhood just to feel like he could start over, but even then, he didn't talk much to anyone. His days were filled with responsibilities, not connections. So when Emily moved into the house next door, he didn't think much of it. She seemed friendly, always smiling, always waving to neighbors, sometimes handing out homemade muffins or helping older residents carry groceries. But Mark kept his distance. He didn't want complications. He didn't want to open any doors he wasn't sure he could walk through. But on that strange morning, when she noticed him staring and responded with honesty instead of judgment, something inside him softened. Later that evening, while Mark grilled chicken in the backyard, Liam kept glancing toward the wooden fence. "Dad," he whispered suddenly, "the new neighbor is stuck." "Stuck?" Mark frowned. Liam pointed to the small hedge between their yards. Emily was kneeling, her hands full of tangled Christmas lights she was trying to organize early. Her hair was tied up messily, and her sweater sleeve kept sliding down. She looked frustrated, but in a funny, lovable way. "Maybe we should help her," Liam said. Mark hesitated. He wasn't good at stepping into people's lives. He was afraid of being awkward, afraid of messing up, afraid of everything. But then he looked at his son, who had been through so much loss, and realized that kindness wasn't just about giving, it was about teaching. Showing. Modeling. If he wanted his son to grow into someone gentle and open, Mark had to try too. So he walked over, clearing his throat. Need a hand?" Emily looked up, surprised, then laughed. "Oh, thank God. I've been fighting these lights for 20 minutes and they're winning." Her humor broke the tension immediately. Mark knelt beside her, and soon, Liam joined too. Together, they untangled the mess, sharing little jokes along the way. By the time they finished, Emily invited them for lemonade. It was nothing fancy, just powdered mix in plastic cups, but it felt warm. Normal. Human. They talked. Emily told them she was 30, recently divorced, and had moved here for a fresh start. She worked as a physical therapist and loved gardening. She listened when Mark talked about his son, and she didn't flinch when he mentioned he was a widower. Instead, she put her hand on his for a brief second and whispered, "That must have been so hard. I'm glad you two have each other." Kindness. Not pity. Not awkwardness. Just kindness. Over the next few weeks, she became part of their day in small, gentle ways. She would bring over cookies. "Before I eat them all," she'd say. She'd wave to Liam every morning and tuck little notes of encouragement inside small envelopes she left on their porch. She helped Mark fix a loose shutter on his house and refused to let him pay her back. "Kindness doesn't need a receipt," she joked. But the moment that changed everything happened one rainy afternoon. Mark came home from work soaked and exhausted. Liam was quiet, unusually quiet, and sat at the dining table holding a crumpled piece of paper. "Dad. I got made fun of in school," he said softly. "Kids said I don't have a mom to come to that Mother's Day brunch. I didn't know what to say. The pain in his son's voice cut Mark deeper than anything. He pulled Liam close and held him, trying to find the right words. Moments later, there was a gentle knock on the door. It was Emily. I saw Liam walking home earlier, she said. He looked sad. Everything okay? Mark explained, voice tight with emotion. Emily listened quietly, her eyes warm. Then she knelt in front of Liam and said, "Hey. You know what? Families come in all shapes. Some kids have one parent, some have two, some live with grandparents, and you know what matters most? Love. You have a dad who would walk through fire for you. That makes you one of the luckiest kids I know." Liam blinked, then suddenly hugged her. A real hug. The kind he used to give his mother. Mark felt tears sting his eyes. After that day, the distance between them slowly disappeared. Mark found himself talking more, laughing more, opening up more. Emily never pushed, never forced, she just showed kindness again and again, in small ways that built trust. One evening, a few months later, they were all sitting on Emily's porch watching fireflies dance in the warm air. Liam had fallen asleep on the swing, a blanket over him. Emily turned to Mark and said softly, "You know that day you froze? When I said, if you want to look, just ask." Mark chuckled nervously. "Yeah. I still don't know why I reacted like that." She smiled gently. "I wasn't teasing you. I was just trying to make you feel comfortable. I noticed you'd been carrying so much weight. I just wanted to remind you it's okay to be human. It's okay to see people. It's okay to let someone see you too." Those words hit him deeper than she knew. And in that moment, Mark realized that kindness wasn't just something she did, it was who she was. Her presence had stitched life back into places he thought were permanently broken. He looked at her, really looked, and whispered, "Thank you. For everything. For being, you." Emily reached over, took his hand, and held it. No pressure. No expectations. Just kindness. And sometimes, that's all people need to begin again. In the months that followed, their bond deepened naturally. Not from grand gestures, but through everyday moments, helping with homework, sharing dinners, cheering at school events, laughing during grocery runs. Kindness had built a bridge where loneliness once lived. And as the seasons changed, their little street felt warmer. Neighbors smiled more. People talked more. One small connection had rippled outward, reminding everyone that kindness is contagious. By the next Mother's Day, Liam didn't feel alone. He proudly walked into school with Mark and Emily beside him. Not replacing anyone. Just adding love where life once took something away. And that, in itself, was enough. Because kindness doesn't always come in big, dramatic waves. Sometimes, it appears on a porch at sunrise. In a tangled string of lights. In a rain-soaked afternoon when someone needs a gentle word. Sometimes, kindness is simply choosing to be there. So as you listen to this story, let it remind you, the smallest act of kindness can change someone's life more than you realize. Be that light. Be that warmth. Be that moment of hope in someone else's day. Because kindness, truly, is the one thing that never stops giving.